Hey everybody, how you doing? Teching here. Well, the day has finally come. I've put this off for far too long. It's time we finally crack this nut. We're gonna figure out, you and me, right now, what Hisoka's Nen ability actually does. And I know, plenty of you, as soon as I said that, you're freaking out. You're throwing a fit, you're throwing stuff around your room, your laptop's on the floor. I know, you're concerned for me. You're looking at me and you're like, Teching, no! You understand some of the greatest scientific minds on this planet have tried and failed to solve this quandary of what Hisoka's Nen ability Bungee Gum actually does. They're all locked up in insane asylums right now, for God's sake, bound in straitjackets, muttering to themselves, consuming instant oatmeal breakfast, lunch, and dinner in padded cells. Do you want their fate to befall you as well? I'm like, listen, I know, but I think I got this. I think I can finally do it, alright? So, this whole thing started millennia ago, oddly enough, before Hisoka or Togashi even existed. I believe it was Plato that had the original quote. He posed the philosophical question, whereas if Hisoka Nen ability doth thou though? Plato might have suffered some brain injuries later on in his career, but that is the actual philosophical question, so let's roll with it. Right, so we all know Hisoka's Nen ability is called Bungee Gum, right? And he starts off by explaining the ability that it is both rubber and something else. Togashi always admits the second part, and it's always muffled in the anime. We can never properly hear what the second part of it is. But, I put a lot of thought into this, and I think I'm ready to finally do it. It is the ability of both rubber and 2% milk. Bam! Nailed it! Alright. I'm not gonna do the joke the entire video. I know it's like, okay, is this going to be a serious video? Are we actually going to talk about his Nen ability, or is this just going to be a 20-minute joke where you think you're funny? I'm like, no. Only going to be like, what was that, like a 3-minute joke where I thought I was funny? Okay, and blame Nux for that. Nux was the one that originally created this thing, and I still don't understand. What is Lord Twigo? Who is Lord Twigo? I still don't know! That's not a freaking joke! I legitimately don't know the reference, period! Could someone please explain this to me? Is it an anime reference? Is it something in Nux's personal life? Is it referencing something else? I have lost sleep over this! Okay. Now, today we're going to be talking about Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter's Nen ability Bungee Gum. It is, of course, the ability of both rubber and gum. And I wouldn't recommend eating this gum. These are the Rumble balls that I used for Chopper's video last June, I believe. So pretty rock hard at this point. Anyway, a very simple Nen ability, and that's the neat thing. You know, in Hunter x Hunter, you got some complicated-ass abilities. You got Knuckles' APR in IRS, which actually incorporates taxes and loans and interest rates into an anime power, which, that sounds boring, but it works, it's very effective. Then you got the Fourth Prince's Nen ability in the most recent arc, which still trying to wrap my head around how that one works. But then you get the simple ones. Togashi's really good at least at taking even a basic ability and kind of incorporating it into a way, so it keeps you guessing. It's not as simple as just like, okay, Killua, for instance. And they're both transmuters, both Killua and Hisoka, so this is an apt comparison. Killua has the ability of electricity, right? So, he could do like Thunderbolt, and he can like a stun gun, he can like shock people, but there's more to it than that. He has his Whirlwind and his Godspeed, and he gets like his nervous system involved and like the electrical signals sent throughout his brain and his nervous system into his muscles. So it gets a little bit more complicated than just, I have electrical powers, I can shoot lightning bolts, I shocked you, I win. A little bit more, in-depth than that, and the same thing with Hisoka's. Okay, so the ability to use rubber and gum kind of sounds goofy at first, but if you think about it in a combat perspective, first off, it kind of renders projectiles useless. Now, traditional guns in the Hunter x Hunter world, they're not, like, completely useless against nen users. They're not a guarantee thing whatsoever. I mean, it's not a guarantee if you take out a gun, you're going to be able to beat a nen user, because if someone's nen is strong enough and you could gather it up at certain points, like I think Bill, even in the most recent arc, someone shot him and then he was able to use his nen to like stop the bullets. So, you know, but the guns are still something, they're nothing to be trifled about if you don't have the necessary skills. But with Hisoka, he don't even need to care. Any sort of projectile gets sent at him, he can just use his nen ability to create a layer of rubber, and the rubber, it has the qualities of rubber. It's not actually rubber. It's still made out of his aura. It's still nen. It just has the same properties as rubber and gum. So it's elastic and also very adhesive, you know? So, and he could choose, you know? So if the bullets hit the thing, it just whoop, whoop, right back. Or he could keep them stuck and then repel them to save them for later. Very versatile when you look at that. Now, there are ways that you can actually turn this against him, and this was something we saw in his fight with Goto during the election arc, where he was fighting Goto, who used coins as his main weapon. By the way, side note, I love Goto. I thought he was a really cool character. I liked his ability. We never even got a name for it. I thought we were going to get a name for his coins or something, like heads and tails. I don't know, something cool. But no, we don't get a chance at that. He just takes out like a mountain of coins in both hands and just rapid fires them off like a machine gun. Like, that's pretty neat, right? And we find out a little weakness here, whereas whenever Hisoka does activate his ability, it has the qualities of rubber, and so that can actually be turned against him. So Goto fires off the coins and they're spinning, and he adds some of his aura to the coins to keep them spinning constantly. Hisoka blocks it with his aura, but they're still spinning. So even if they're caught with the rubber, they can't go anywhere, but they're still moving, and, you know, the rubber is attached to Hisoka's hands. Okay? This isn't like he could just create like a force field of it and it's not even contacting him. It's his aura, you know? And so because they keep spinning, his aura keeps spinning as well, to the point where his hands are about to snap. And Goto even says, you know, you can either disengage your ability, in which case, you know, you're open season for me. I could just unload on you at that point. Or you can keep your ability active, but if you do that, the coins are going to keep spinning, and you're going to be strangled by your own aura. It's going to snap your hands and your arms, you know? So, yeah, it's something to keep in mind there with these certain nen abilities, you know? You are the one that comes up with the design for them. I mean, you have to stay in your own particular designation in your class, transmuter in Hisoka's case, to change the properties of your aura, but beyond that, you can pretty much make whatever you want, but you gotta, like, think very long and very hard about every single decision, any ability that you decide to come up with, because there might be a glaring weakness of it, something that you don't even think about, but, you know, you go into battle, and if someone comes up with that weakness immediately, unless you have a countermeasure for that, you're going to go down, right? Now, thankfully, Hisoka is very smart on the battlefield, okay? So, for instance, he attaches some gum to a nearby tree, and so he has some coming off of him on the side, and then also has his, you know, hands that are getting about to be snapped. So when he deactivates his ability, it not only frees his arms, it also, like, rescinds it on his back so he can escape that way. So yeah, and there's a few other ways, like applications he does with this. But the point is, always having your ability activated in maybe more than one places is sort of like a misdirection thing. Hisoka is a magician. Do you get it? Yeah, okay, it makes sense. And with that being said, also, the adhesive properties of Bungee Gum seem pretty near absolute. I mean, Hisoka has lost arms before, in the middle of combat nonetheless, and popped them right back on using his aura, and that kind of psychologically messes with the opponent. If 1 second you slice off somebody's arm, and you turn around and it's right back on again, you know, in the world of Hunter x Hunter, where there's so many crazy nen abilities, that would actually raise more questions than answers. Because if you slice off somebody's arm and then, like, you look back and it's reattached, you'd be like, whoa, okay, so is it an illusion? Did he hypnotize me? Am I actually seeing this? Or maybe I thought I severed his arm, but in fact I didn't. That was the illusion, and I'm seeing reality right now. Like, did he do some other ability to make it look like it's healed, but it's not? See, that's the thing, you know, Hisoka's a master of that stuff, playing the opponents, leading them to actually think, like in Goto's case, leading them to think they have an advantage, leading them to get a little bit cocky, like, I can actually beat him. Like with Goto, he did that game where he's like, you know, how many coins am I gonna fire back at you? And Goto, in his mind, was thinking, well, I fired off, I think it was like 22 or something, but even if the number is greater than 22, it doesn't matter. I'll shoot them all down. And Hisoka, at the end, he fires off the coins, but then he delivers his second attack where he comes down personally with his cards and finishes off Goto. And the answer was like, enough to kill you. That was the answer to that question, you know? So he's really good at leading the opponents and stuff like that. So that kind of ability can be used for misdirection. And in the fight with Castro at Heaven's Arena, he lost an arm, popped it right back on, and that kind of messed up with Castro's perspective, and he lost some confidence in the fight there. Now, simply attaching the arm back to him doesn't heal the wound. It's still, basically, it's more or less just, you know, slathering some super glue on your stump and then just, you know, like, it might stick, but there's no nerves connecting. You're not going to be able to move it that well. Then again, Hisoka could always attach his aura to something else. He could attach it to the ceiling or something, like, or attach it to another opponent, and the arm could maybe, like, give the illusion that it's moving, when in fact, you know, Hisoka's not the one moving it. It's, like, attached like a puppet on strings, you know? So he could always do that. So he had to rely on Machi's ability, the Nen threads, the sewing, the stitching, in order to actually repair the nerves and the blood vessels or anything. But still, in terms of, like, a quick fix, yeah, he was like, oh man, he lopped off my ear, just pop that back on, we're good. And then later on, after the fight with Crollo, we get to see him, like, taking off people's heads and then using them as, like, bowling balls and, like, whipping them around, you know, springing up and down, using, you know, attaching it to the ceiling and then the floor, and he can, like, bungee jump, kind of like, oh, I get it, bungee jump, because it's bungee gum. Alright, makes sense, Tagashi. I'm on to you, man. By the by, while we're on the subject of this, Hisoka's playing cards. Like, this is actually the second video in like a few days where playing cards are actually relevant, so I have some on standby. His playing cards, was it ever really explained how he can use these things as basically razors and just, you know, slice up people using his cards? I'm assuming it's pretty simple. He just adds his, aura to the card and then just flings it. I don't know if it's ever been actually explained, the whole process of it, but, you know, it doesn't need to probably be explained because it's a relatively simple thing. It was just something, because that was my first question upon finding out about Hisoka's Nen ability. We find out about it in the Heaven's Arena. It's bungee gum, and I'm like, oh, that's great. That explains the fight with Castro. By the by, how is he able to use his cards like, you know, knives? But, you know, aura. That's the thing. It's aura. You could do anything with it. Seriously, you could even come back from the dead. I know that because that's what happened with Hisoka. So, here you are. He literally used this ability to restart his heart. Alright? You know, pull and contract and pump his heart when he died. And then that managed to bring him back to life. So, diggity damn, bungee gum is awesome. Do not ever doubt. You know that scene in One Piece where Usopp was trying to peddle off the rubber bands to all the people of Skypiea, and they were looking at them like, holy crap, that's a rubber band. Can you separate your eyes? Can you go like wall-eyed? I can't do that, but it's a cool thing. Like, oh, what? You know? Yeah, they really are incredible. That guy was, you know, appropriate in buying a bunch of rubber bands because, you know, they're very useful things there. Also, the naming scheme. I guess we should talk about that as well. So, Bungee Gum is the name of a, like, little gum treat that existed, you know, when Hisoka was a little kid. There's actually a prequel manga, not written by Togashi or drawn by Togashi, but there's like a manga of Hisoka's backstory, and I haven't read it. I've read like a few pages of it, but that explains the whole bungee gum thing. And then he has another ability called Texture Surprise, which that ability is easy as hell to understand. Bungee gum, that has eluded mankind for centuries, but Texture Surprise, I don't even need to explain to you what that does. But I will, because the video, I feel, isn't long enough, so let's just bump that up a little bit longer. So no, the Texture Surprise, really quick. He basically can take any object, usually it's cloth or like a handkerchief or something, but he could pretty much do anything with it. And then he can change the texture of said object into the texture of anything else. He usually does this to hide injuries in the battlefield. So, like with Castro, when he lost his arm and he popped it back on, just using bungee gum alone, it's going to leave an obvious seam. Like, you're going to be able to see right there the point where it got severed. But using texture surprise, he could take a handkerchief, because he's a magician. He has handkerchiefs just, lying around. He can plop that on his arm and just add some texture surprise to it, use bungee gum to make sure it sticks to him, it doesn't fall off, and then he changes the texture to skin, and it looks just like it. Although I believe Machi did state that the appearance, that's all it is appearance only. If you were to actually touch that part of his flesh, it would still feel like a handkerchief or a tissue or whatever it was originally intended to be. It only looks that way. But yeah, so I guess, texture in terms of like how it feels, that doesn't change, just the appearance. Okay. So, yeah, that's Hisoka's Nen ability. I really just wanted to do a Hunter x Hunter video today, really. I wanted to break it up a little bit. We did a lot of One Piece stuff the last few days, especially that Doflamingo video. That was really intense there. Hope to do more Hunter x Hunter content in 2019, so hold off for that. Let me know what you want me to talk about. That Greed Island video I did a few weeks ago was really fun, so you can go and check that out there. But yeah, I also probably gotta grab I'm going to an anime convention at the end of the month. Can you tell? I don't know if you could tell. I'm probably gonna get a Hunter x Hunter wall scroll there if I can find one. So, yeah, with that being said, thanks for watching, everybody. Teching 101, signing out. Oh, that was perfect. Joker, because I'm dressed like... I seriously didn't know. I didn't realize that until just now I made that connection. Alright, you guys have a good night. You have a good one. What the hell? Not my best idea.